solve it. And when trouble comes into my life and in your life, here's our deal. We want to figure out exactly how to solve it, and we want to handle it. And we think that peace and hope will only come when we figure out why it came. Let me tell you something. Hope and peace does not come by figuring out what God's doing. Hope and peace comes when we know He knows what He's doing. Leave it with Him. I'd sit on the floor. My mom would used to she would work at needlecraft. I'd be down there playing with baseball cards and arranging my baseball card teams, and my mother would be working at her chair, and she'd be sticking a needle in a piece of fabric, cross stitch I think it was called, and she'd pull the needle back up and back down and back up, and from my angle, as I looked up, all I saw were these ugly threads hanging down underneath this piece of fabric. And being the good boy that I was, I said, "That's ugly, Mom. That sure is ugly." And my mom would say, "You don't know what I'm doing. You can't see what I'm doing." And I say, "Well, I don't know what you're doing, but it sure is ugly. I don't like what you..." And she finally said, "Well, just stand up and come over here and get next to me." I'd go over there and I'd stand next to her. Oh, and there's a beautiful butterfly or a mountain scene, a river flowing through a countryside. I couldn't see it from my vantage point. But when I got up close to her, I could see she knew what she was doing. There have been times I've said, "Lord, I don't know what you're doing. This doesn't make sense to me." And the Lord's had to remind me, it doesn't have to make sense to you. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm orchestrating. I know what I'm designing. The instant response, cast it on Him. All your anxiety, all your care, bring to the mercy seat. Leave it there. Never a burden He cannot bear. Never a friend like Jesus. And there's one more thing, and I'm finished. We see the inevitable reality. You're going to have cares. The instant response, cast it back to Him. And finally, we see the incredible reason. The incredible reason we cast it back on Him. What is that? Well, look at verse 7. Casting all your care upon Him. And here's the reason. For He careth for you. The word care actually is in the plural in that verse. Casting all your care. It means all of your cares, not just some of them, all of them. And when it says when He careth for you, the word you is in the singular. You say, "Well, what's the point, preacher?" It means this. He cares for you and 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 you. You could put your name in the margin. You know, it just helps to know that somebody cares when you're going through a hardship. And that's why we share it sometimes with other people. And they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It just helps to know somebody cares. Let me tell you, the ultimate one who cares is the Lord. And it's not phony. It's real. In fact, I'm not a Greek scholar, but let me tell you something. When it says He careth for you, it's first of all in the present tense, which means what? It's happening right now. Right now. You say, "But I don't feel like He cares." Then tell your feelings to take a hike. Because He does care. It's in the present tense. Not only is it in the present tense, it's in the active voice. You say, "What does that mean?" It means it is real. It is not hypothetical. His care for you is not spiritual phony talk. It's not preacher hyperbole. It's real. It's as real as the ground your feet are upon or the pulpit this wood has formed. It is real. It is not hypothetical. And it's in the indicative mood. You say, "What does that mean?" It means it will always be true. Let me put it in Texas English. You ready? He's always cared for you, and He always will. And He's caring for you right now. No matter what you feel, He cares for you. There's not a burden you carry that He doesn't want you to hand off to Him. There's not a trial He can't eliminate. There's not a sorrow He can't remove. There's not a door He cannot open. There's not an issue He cannot remove. Did you know that the Lord knows right now tonight that you're wondering, I don't know, how you're going to put gas in your vehicle this week? He knows. He knows that you need a new job. He knows. He knows your kids need new shoes. Your house needs a new roof. Your car needs new tires. He knows you're not sure if you're going to get that project done on time. He knows your cares. He knows. He cares. So cast them on Him. Quit trying to figure everything out on your own. Don't live in a state of fear and fret and worry. He's got it. Amen. You're in His hands. And so I would sit upstairs in my room, and there's many a time I would cling to this verse, and I'd say, Lord, I got those cares on me again. I don't want to leave my wife. I don't want to leave my grandkids. I don't want to leave the ministry. God, there are things I want to do for you. If you want to take me home, okay, give me the grace to accept it. But if you would, please let me keep living. God, I'm giving you this care. And there would be times my wife would walk in the room. She'd say, are you okay? Because the tears would just be flowing down my face. I cried all the time. I'd watch a ball game and they'd sing the national anthem. I'd just start weeping. I'd say, I love America. I was just so weak. I cried at everything. And she'd say, are you okay? And there, more than once, I'd say to her, I'm just casting my cares. I'm trying to get rid of them. I don't want to carry them. He told me to give them back to Him. My dad, actually my family one night, when I was a little boy, my mom thought she heard somebody breaking into our house. I was like 5 years of age. Scared me to death. My dad was not at home at the time. He was working late. We rushed over to the neighbors, called the police. The police came to our house, walked through the house. It was, as a little boy, that was scary. Someone breaking into my house. I didn't even want to go back home. The police came over to check, and they came back to us across the street, and they said, Mrs. Gleiser, the house is empty. You can go home. Everything's fine. The back door was open, but you're safe. My mother said, I'm just going to wait for my husband to get home. And he said, okay. So we stayed at the neighbors. My dad pulled in the driveway. We told him what had happened. And I watched my dad as he walked back across the street and he walked through the house. I thought, wow, he's the bravest man in the world. And he came back across and he said, all right, we're good to go. Let's go home. And I grabbed my dad's pant leg as we walked across the street and I said, Daddy, did you check every closet? Closets are big to a little kid. He said, yes, son, I checked every closet. I said, really? Behind Mom's clothes and all those shoes and everything? Did you check it all? He said, I checked it all. I said, did you look underneath every bed? He said, I looked underneath every bed. I said, Daddy, did you look inside the vents? It could have been a real skinny man. He could have hid down in one of those vents. And he said, son, there's nobody in the house. We're good. And we walked inside the house, and my dad said, all right, let's all go to bed. And I thought, go to bed? There'll be no sleeping tonight. We'll all sit up in the house, prepared for any trouble that may come our way, We didn't have any of those guns. But anyway, I said, Daddy, I don't know if I can sleep. He said, son, go to bed. Everything's fine. I said, Daddy, he said, go to bed. Okay. I laid in my bed and my eyes were just bugged out of my head. I was, have you ever heard your house pop and crack at night when everybody's quiet? I heard every one of them. And I was saying, oh, what's happening? And all of a sudden, as I was laying in bed, I heard someone walking down the hall. And then the light came on. And there standing in front of my room was my dad. And as he stood there, he looked around the house from my corner of the doorway of my room because he knew he had a scared boy in there trying to go to sleep. And he was trying to tell his boy, you can go to sleep. I got this. Amen. So he was looking around. He went back to his bedroom. Probably 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, I don't know. Dad came walking back down the hall, stood there at my room, looked around. He probably stole a glance in there to see if I was still awake. I was. He went back to his room. The third time he came back, this time he came back with a baseball bat in his hand, like he was prepared to use it. I remember having mixed emotions at that point. I thought, I wish somebody would break in now. I'd love to see Dad tear into him. And I felt my eyes getting heavy. Daddy's awake. And the next thing I knew, it was morning. I fell asleep. Daddy's awake. He's got it. And the Lord is trying to tell His people, I got this. You worried about the future of America? I got this. You worried about your bills? I've got this. You worried about your health? I've got you. You're worried about fill in the blank. He says, cast all your cares upon me, for I care for you. Always have and always will. Father, I pray for these new friends of mine. We've been here for a while. Thank you for the sweet testimonies of so many tonight. I thank you for the way in which you've been preparing hearts. You prepared my own for what's going to take place this week. We look forward greatly to the teenagers coming out starting tomorrow night. But now, Lord, tonight, as we've looked at this passage, I promised you that if you'd give me a chance, I would tell your people something that they've known, they've heard their whole life. But Lord, we just need to be reminded of the fact that it's inevitable we're going to have cares, storms, hardships. And I pray that you'll help us all to remember what to do with them when they come and the reason why. Our heads are bowed. I'm not about to ask who here tonight needed this message tonight. I don't need to know. I'm just going to take a moment to ask our pianist to prepare whatever she would like to play. And I'm just going to let you stay seated. I'm going to let you just sit there and you just tell the burden of your heart to your Lord because He cares for you. And Pastor can come and conclude whenever he sees fit. You take that burden to him right now.
You know, that truth to me is the difference. The application of that truth to me is the difference between a mundane, miserable Christian life and a joyful, victorious Christian life. Casting our cares upon Him. As you cast your care upon Him, He gives you the power to be able to live for Him. So I appreciate so much. What a pertinent message. Trust that God has spoken to your heart, and not just in head knowledge, but in application also. Well, tomorrow starts our Teen Challenge. I hope that you'll be in prayer for that at the very least. Some of you know that you're not going to be able to be here physically for that, but I hope that some of you have already determined that during that time, 6:30 to 8:30, that you'll just allot that time to pray. just that you'll pray the whole time. We'd love to hear the testimonies afterward of how God really worked in you to pray for these, and then the testimonies of how God actually worked through your prayers. But if you can come here, we'd love for you to come. Everybody is a part of it somehow if you show up, and it's going to be a great time. Again, remember to pray for Brother Gleiser. Pray for the young people to come, and just pray that God would be glorified in it all. Well, thank you for being with us tonight. You are dismissed.